The last of the 5 themes of geography is region. So here are our objectives. Here is the question for region. So how is this place similar to itself and yet different from other places? It's a little difficult, more difficult question. Here is the definition. So this is what we're really looking for when we're looking for a region. We want to find a region that has a unifying characteristic. So something that makes it similar, like climate, land, population, or history. There are several different types that we get into in our lesson. The first is a physical region, and a physical region is created by barriers such as mountains or oceans. I'm not going to go with the border thing. I disagree with this here. Borders tend to be political things, so we'll look at borders when we look at politics, political regions. Here is a really good example of a physical region if I want to define the physical region of Europe as opposed to the physical region of Asia. The Ural Mountains provide that barrier there. There are a few things in this map down here that does set the United States apart as a physical region. You have the Great Lakes up here. You have the Rio Grande River as part of our border. But for the most part, this is a political border. It's an imaginary imposed line that separates the U.S. from Canada. So we're going to put that down in our political borders. Then we have a climate region. Climate regions are defined by average temperature and the average precipitation they receive over a long period of time. The difference between climate and weather. Weather is what it's like outside right now. So if I look outside my window, I can see that it's sunny. I can look on my phone and see that it's 85 degrees outside. That's weather. If I look at that pattern of weather, how many days it's sunny throughout the year, the average temperature throughout the year, the average precipitation, if I take all of that and then look at that pattern over a long period of time, at least 10 years, that's where we get climates. So here are some different climate zones you see in the United States. Here's a climate map of the world. And climates are another one of those things that geographers like to change the name for, even though they're talking about the same area. Please refer back to the climate types for kids, that website that I gave you in Canvas, because those tend to be the climate types that I will ask you questions about. Highland climates, polar climates, or I think it might be polar ice cap climates, tundra. You've got your arid and semi-arid, so the desert and that area around the desert. Then you have things like tropical, subtropical, humid continental, humid subtropical. So make sure you go back and review those climates on that climate types for kids. Cultural regions are not confined to a specific area, and they may exist across the globe, and a lot of this has to do with what happened during colonization, during that exploration period. So if I'm looking at this, this is a religion map, and if I'm looking at this, I see that Spain up here is purple, and if I look down here, I see the same color purple in South America, and that's because the Spanish conquered most of South America and they imposed their language and their religion. So most of the people in South America, except for Brazil, speak Spanish. The Brazilians speak Portuguese because that's who ended up with the Brazilian part of South America. We will talk about that when we get into history, how that all happened. But you know, they're all Roman Catholic. This is the purple is Roman Catholic. This light blue is some type of Protestant religion. The green is Muslim. This is Hindu. So those are some of the different religions that would be grouped together as a region. This map of regions is a map of Native American tribes, and you can see that they are kind of spread out through the different areas of the United States. Not just the United States, North America. And they don't necessarily have to be together. You have this area up here in Alaska, and then it continues over here in parts of Canada as well. This is where I put those boundaries, those borders between countries, because those are set up by people that unify an area, a region, as a political region. So this top map is showing you regions of the world based on those political boundaries, those political lines that were set up by people, invisible lines for the most part. But political regions can also be defined by the type of political system they have adopted. So on this map, you've got the United Kingdom, you've got Spain down here, you've got Norway and Sweden, Canada, Australia. These are all in pink. Those are parliamentary democracies. The dark blue, are mostly presidential democracies. You've got China and Cuba over here as communist countries, the same over with Vietnam and North Korea. So those are your political systems. And then the last type of region is economics. And just to help you remember about economics, economics always is going to have to do with money. And we've talked about the economic region of the European Union, that they got together in order to have more economic power. Another way that we can look at economic regions is look at where countries fall on this economic system spectrum. So on one side we have a command economy. On the other side we have a free market or capital economy, and most countries are going to fall somewhere on this spectrum. So you've got North Korea and China over here closer to command. You've got France, the UK, United States closer to this side as a free market economy. A couple more things about region. They share at least one characteristic. So the climate, there's a specific aspect of their culture, whether it be religion or language. Regional boundaries can change. So think about Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia used to be a country in Europe, and after the collapse of the Soviet Union and some changes happening in Eastern Europe, Yugoslavia is no longer a country. Now it's like 6 or 7 different countries, places like Bosnia Herzegovina, places like Serbia, Croatia. And we will look at that a lot more when we start getting into both the physical unit next week and when we get into their history. Regions can be interrelated and they can overlap. So if I'm looking at political regions of democracies, most of the time those democracies will also overlap with a free market or capitalist economy. They are not homogeneous, meaning they're not all the same, and they can disappear. So the best example of a region that has disappeared, think about triangular trade. Triangular trade was that system that was going from the United States to Europe to Africa that made that triangle. So trading goods and services, different resources and slaves, all that during the early years of the colonies in the United States, that triangle of trade, it no longer exists because the thing that brought those areas together, that economic region, it no longer exists. So that is it for our 5 themes of geography. Thank you very much.